I see the bar going up and down, so I think that's good. Anyway, hi, welcome to SHO, episode 4. Today is June 18th. We got Ahmed and Khalil from Decoy Games here. They're going to be talking about their game Swimsanity, which you've probably seen at BFIG or Playcrafting, or I think they're at PAX this year as well. I got a special cocktail lined up for later. Of course, this is the Boston Indies talk show and happy hour, so if anyone has announcements about any cool stuff going on around Boston, just drop those in the chat. I got a couple things going that I can list off right now. June 24th, Josh Galecki is going to be hosting a Show Don't Tell demo night, kind of a new format where people are going to be getting into small groups, streaming their games, playing them, and having other people watch and describe the mechanics back to them to see how readable their gameplay is. June 30th, Game Audio Boston is going to have Oscar Cohen, who is, of course, a former organizer of that meetup and current employee of Riot Games. So I say June 30th. And then on July 20th, Boston Indies and Women in Games Boston are going to be co-hosting Lightning Talks. And you can find information about all of this on bostongamedev.com. Sorry, my cat is chewing plastic right next to my desk. Not seeing anything else in the chat, so I guess we'll just get started here and roll right into it. Classic.
Let's go.
Hey.
Hey, you know what? Don't give Chris shit because he's amazing, and I actually think that the technical difficulties make this a little more genuine. What do you think, Ziba?
Oh, it's so textured and authentic and real. And I'm very grateful to Chris that he's doing it and I don't have to, because I'm very capable of hitting the wrong buttons myself. But welcome everybody to SHO, Boston Indie Talk Show Happy Hour. I am Ziba. This is Ichiro. I run Pop Cannibal, making games. Ichiro, he does stuff too. Hey, Ichiro, what you up to?
I'm not winning a BAFTA.
Oh, there goes our streak of not having mentioned a BAFTA for a whole show.
Okay, we mentioned it last time. Did you guys know Ahmed and Khalil are not yet on camera yet? But I just want you to know that Ziba, I'm really blurry now. Really, I'm drunk. I've started on. There we go. Ziba Scott has won a BAFTA despite not being British. What am I up to lately? Here's a nice piece of Bostonian news. If you all know Petrichor Games, we haven't really announced this outside of the local area, but we and they are working. We are now collabing on a project. We're working on remastered, so that's going to be exciting. What's up with you?
Another week in an absolute brutal wrestling match with the Unreal Engine, which I grow to hate more and more by the day.
Have you tried have you tried Unity?
Unity, it's like Unity is the one I left and regret. It's I walked away. I said, Unity, you're not. There's got to be more out there, and so I went out there and I found Unreal, and I was wrong, and I want Unity to take me back.
Well, you could you could go back. Wait, was it Flash? Swimsanity, was that a Flash game?
We can go to go to Flash. We have some people on the show today who can tell us.
Okay, sorry, I'm totally jumping ahead because I'm excited. So I'm going to be unexcited.
Yeah. All right. So just a quick outline before we've done the banter check. Next we've got the review of the arts, which is devlog, and then we'll get on to our guests, and then we're going to have our tiki talk and our happy hour. So let's do our review of devlog, because I love to see what everybody's been doing all week in the Slack chat. Let me kick this off. Chris Chung was sharing his announcement for Cat Lateral Damage Remeowstered. Roll that footage. Oh, look at that.
So this game did really well on launch, and especially with cat fans, right? It's about knocking shit off of shit.
Yeah, it's also one of those games. It's like it's old. It's one of those many things that make me feel old. Like it's old enough to be remeowstered, but like. Yeah, I guess it is. It was a while. And Chris, I've heard Chris talk a little bit about the exciting adventures he's had along the way making it, now remaking it. So people should ask him about that if he's running a happy hour, about how the joys of revisiting a project many years later, which I'm sure you've done yourself.
I have done many things, and I'm all proud of them.
All right.
Next up, yeah, we have Evan. I don't know if Evan's on the Twitch stream, but he's I guess he's talking about Moose Adventure. I haven't played it. Have you?
I don't know if the audio is coming through, but he just sent this video. The audio really sells. It's really cute, sort of uplifting music. It makes me want to go on an adventure with this moose. That's all. I liked it. Next up, we've got Demi with showing off a dialogue system that they've got going on in the game they're developing called Greyland, and they we're excited to share little blurbs, boxes, a lot of pop in there, some good juice on that text box popping up. Thanks for sharing that, Demi.
Next up, we have Dan. Dan was our first guest, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yep. And basically, he's been working on so you see the auto tiling. Well, I'm reading it. Auto tiling terrain sprites in Game Maker. I don't know what Dan is doing, but basically, I don't know. How would you describe the game?
Dan makes these in-depth puzzles that are they're puzzlers puzzles. But watching Dan, I hear Dan over the years. He keeps thinking oh, I can't do the whole thing, or I want to get some help for this and that. But every time I see he pushes himself, his art gets better and better. And I think he's just going to give up on all outside help eventually and realize he's the whole show. He can just do this all himself. Next up, speaking of the whole show, somebody doing a lot of stuff. You got Matt Brelsford, who asked for feedback on his eyeballs and took the feedback that they should blink in his hyper stylish minimalist platformer here. Elliot, eyeballs blinking.
Yeah. So what's nice about the Boston community, the Boston Slack, is that a bunch of people post stuff regularly and get feedback and act on the feedback. And so what we're seeing here is what's new since last week. So thank you for blinking, Matt.
And then one more item, which is I'm sorry I'm going to mispronounce. I don't know his first name. Majid Hamdi? Magid, thank you.
I'm going to guess it's Magid Hamdi.
I love
That's a guess. Can we get that? Do we have Magid in the chat? All right, who knows?
Okay, yeah, we've got Chell suggesting anyways, showing off a beautiful demo for Renane, which is live in the Steam Games Festival right now. So you should go check that out there. There's our segue. Speaking of
no. We added more slides.
Oh, well, okay.
We're like Michael Carrier, whom you may have heard of. This guy, he founded the Indie Game Collective. He runs Zapdot. He runs Boston Indies. He runs everything. He asked me, so he's doing a play test soon of his upcoming game, which he brought that in from external. He's like the Valve to Portal, except on a smaller scale. So if you see here, bit.ly, Zapdot, capital Z, playtest, capital P, he wants you to come in and play a game that he's doing. And he asked me, would it be okay if I put a mention in? And I'm like, dude, I already did that. You're so covered. And then finally, so I just added more slides. If you are on the Boston Slack, go to the introductions channel and introduce yourself. And then finally, look at what we have here. We have a slide from Swimsanity, which in my mind I entitled "Blah." So that's our segue.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's the following. That's a better segue. Blah. All right. You may have seen our guests casually sweeping up awards at the Boston Festival of Indie Games or delighting crowds at PAX. They are brothers who've been lovingly polishing Swimsanity until it sparkles, shines, and bludgeons. Please welcome the founders of Decoy Games, Ahmed and Khalil Abdullah.
What's going on, y'all?
Hey.
Everybody, how's it going?
Thank you. I keep making those cheering sound effects every time. Chris, note that we need some real applause for it.
That was you. I thought that was the audience. It was pretty realistic.
Really feeling this set right now. Just letting you know. This is it's pretty neat.
Oh yeah, this was Luigi, who I don't think we've credited since day one. He did the intro and the set here.
I see, Luigi. I'm looking out for you, man. I know they don't. I'm just making sure you get your props. These guys are just gonna take all your credit.
Yeah, no, we paid him an exposure and then did not expose him whatsoever.
You know that Ziba won Luigi's BAFTA. He has 2 BAFTAs.
For context, Luigi and I have been working together for almost a decade.
Oh yeah,
So
sorry.
how cruel of me.
I think that decade's over because you're not giving Luigi any credit.
Oh, I'm loving it.
It might be done.
All right. Well then, let's make good of my last few hours in game dev before Luigi kicks me out. He was really the talent all along. Let's get to my first question. How are you today?
Amazing.
Awesome.
Great.
Always amazing. You know?
You are Boston game devs, and you're also New York game devs. And I wanted to open before we dive into the particular game you're making. I just wanted to talk about the scenes a bit. You've been shown at BFIG, PAX East. I assume I think you've also done PAX West. That's the world that I know. That's the world a lot of us here know. What's it like splitting between Boston and New York? What have you learned from that?
Yeah, so I mean, I like both communities. We're like literally Boston game devs. We always joke that New York adopted us a bit. But I mean, I think the Boston community is definitely more accessible. Like I think getting into their events are a little bit more straightforward at times. I think the pros that we get out of going to New York is, I mean, it's New York. It's the Big Apple. They have all the media and stuff out there. So if you're ready for that stage and you put yourself out there, and you're ready for that kind of attention, there's a lot of opportunities to be had in New York that it's not really a New York versus Boston thing. It's New York versus really anywhere in the country. They just, it's New York City for a reason. And they have a lot of really great indie groups out there that allows you to get on a platform. But I mean, I think, like I said, I think Boston has its pros as well. I just think it's a very accessible community. At times a little bit like broken up. Like I wish they were a little bit more united a bit, but I think that Boston has a lot of really cool things going on too.
I mean, I would have, I guess, like, I think I don't know New York as well as I want to. What you described to me sounds like LA or the Bay Area or something like that, right? That's where indies will go on their press tour to go try to get information. I wouldn't even know what doors to knock on in New York. So that's,
Well, I want to say, so let me say that I think like half the people that I see in New York have fled Boston, right? So you get your, like Clara and Matt over at NYU, and then I guess Seth over at NYU. And oh my gosh, who else? Who's getting her master's degree over at NYU? Like everybody NYU. So it's like, so why? Are we trying to start a fight with the people who've left us?
I think that New York, so I mean, Boston, obviously we have like Boston Fig and we have your PAX East, which is like the biggest showcase over here. But I think New York has more constant activity throughout the year. So in between those big breaks that we have, hopping on the South Station train to go over to New York to showcase your game. And like I said, in front of potential media and stuff like that, I think it brings out a really good side option. For us, we count it all one and the same. So we mix it all into the same schedule. I think if you're missing out on either community, you're missing out on big things. But yeah, I just think that given the fact, like I said, you can hop on a train and get over there in a few hours for a pretty respectable low cost, I think it's definitely worth the hassle. And a lot of the connections that we've made along the way have come from both sides.
Yeah, I agree. I always tell the Boston devs anytime I have conversation, it's always worth to try to take a trip up to New York. That's opened so many doors for us, and you just don't know who you're talking to. New York, you know how it is. You could just be walking on the street and you think this is just a certain person, but they know someone else that just opens up another door, and it's a really exciting scene out there. And there's always stuff going on throughout the year. So, as soon as things start getting back to normal, I highly recommend people always take a trip up there.
Ziba, your attempt to divide us, I don't know if that's been successful or failed.
Big time fail.
Yeah.
I'll just have to vet the guests beforehand to make sure they agree with my platform.
We're trying to bring these communities together, trying to merge them both together.
No, we should have a picnic or something. We should have an exchange program, or I should just stop being lazy and go to playcrafting events in New York or something.
I want Yankees and Red Sox fans to hold hands and make games together.
That's right.
That's
baseball, right?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that.
So you're doing all this promoting. Is it entirely all in the name of Swimsanity? and what is Swimsanity?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so right now we're all 100% in on Swimsanity. It's a 4-player underwater shooter with competitive and cooperative game modes. It's going to be on PC and all platforms. So sorry, PC and all consoles, with crossplay and online play and local play. And it's actually, the demo's up right now for free for the week during the Steam Game Fest.
I'm in love with how tight and precise and practiced that pitch was. I mean, I know why, because you've been doing it for a long time, but like,
Long
I mean,
time.
it's still not an easy thing. Someone says, say what your game is, and we'll do it. And you didn't just hit what your game is, but what you're promoting. So yeah.
How's it like? Despite despite my liking Valve, I don't know much about how the summer showcase is going. Can you talk briefly about that and how your demo's doing?
Yeah, so we were fortunate enough to be part of the Guerrilla Collective right before. So the Guerrilla Collective, that we kind of jumped into that right at the last second, and that gave us a nice boost going in there. We've kind of been riding that wave along. But I think a lot of devs were a little surprised that there were so many games involved, because they really didn't make that clear to you. But it started becoming more clear as you kind of looked at the documentation, how they could present it. Then I had an idea. I'm like, all right, this is going to be fully curated based on some algorithms and stuff like that. So, it is kind of a microcosm of what happens on the Steam store. So you got to hustle, you got to try to find a way to get your game, shown a bit. But we've gotten some good reception. Our wish lists have definitely gone up, and like our goal all along was to really focus on our console marketing and have that kind of push our Steam sales. So this is, for us, anything that comes out of this felt like a bonus. So we're happy with it.
Yeah, I've liked it so far. I think it's a pretty cool, I mean, just like you said, Steam in general is like the wild, wild west. So you always have to do a little bit extra to make sure that, you kind of are getting ahead of the other people that you're competing with. But it does give you a pretty cool platform to like create a demo for your game and have streamers broadcast your game or broadcast your game yourself. And also like create cool events that the people can kind of browse through the calendar and see. So I think it's cool. I hope they build on it. I think we'll probably do it again in the future.
And bless Chris for showing footage of Swimsanity, because I think, or at least I forgot to ask the question that Chris made us promise to ask, is to put you on the spot and ask you for 30 seconds of what you and your game are.
Thanks, Chris. We're not going to do you like Luigi. We're going to give you cost, man. We love you, Chris.
Yeah, I'm glad people are seeing it right now. I played this demo today. It's really it's great, and I want to plant the idea for happy hour that everybody go and download it and play it while they're on Zoom with happy hour, because it does have network play, and I recommend it. And so I was playing it. I mean, first I was struck by. I mean, I wasn't surprised. I already saw all the awards it won, but like the level of detail and shine and flashiness and juice to everything is great. But also sort of the depth of play modes and content. It did leave me with a question, just as from a designer point. How do you decide what goes into Swimsanity and what doesn't? How do you be like, I have an idea, oh, this could be fun, it's not? Where do you draw the line? Because you've put so much time and stuff into this. How do you stop yourself from saying just one more thing in there? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a few different things. I think definitely just testing. I think a lot of devs fall short as far as testing. That doesn't mean you have to like go to like PAX East and set up an expensive booth or anything like that. Just have some friends come over, play your game, and like don't bother them. Step to the side. If they are playing it and they keep looking over at you because they're ready to leave, that's probably saying something about the game, which we've definitely gone through that before. If they're playing and they won't get up, that also says something really good too. So we use test plays to judge what like qualifies to fit into the game. As far as like scope creep, which is the other side of it, like making sure we don't add too much. It really depended on like what opportunities we had lined up. Like every single day we would go to the calendar and see, when does this game have to be done and where are we as far as hitting that finish line? And it got to a certain point where, gladly a lot of opportunities were kind of coming towards us, and we kind of hit the point where like, all right, guys, at this point, like no more game modes, no more levels, no more unleashes. We'll write down our ideas. Maybe we'll put it in as DLC later. But as soon as like, it's so hard to jump on opportunities as an indie developer. you don't want to miss those by adding too much scope creep. So we hit a certain point based on the opportunities that we had in front of us, where we said, all right, guys, time to cut this off so we can kind of wrap up development and start focusing on other things.
I think that sort of ties into what JB Sheds is asking. Question for devs: you showed Swimsanity in 2014. So JB Sheds has been following you for over half a decade. And, it looked like it was done then. It looked like, I guess it was, it's definitely in a good shape. Some of the pitfalls and difficulties to get to where you are now with this game.
Yeah, we had this original vision, and as much as we had great feedback then, that just wasn't the vision for the game. To be honest, actually, the only one sprite from that demo in 2014 survived, and it was the whale. So literally everything else was redone. That wasn't even on Unity yet. We always wanted to be on all platforms, so we wanted to keep going until we hit that mark. So for us, we really didn't feel like it was a pitfall or difficulty. It was just part of the journey for us, and we positioned ourselves to take our time until we get to that point. So with that, for us, we were working a full-time job as well as doing this. So we knew financially we could kind of go at the pace we wanted to, and we were trying to get all of the attention of the platform. So in 2014, I believe at that point we did have, we were able to publish on PlayStation, able to publish on Xbox, but Nintendo Switch obviously didn't come out then. That was only a couple years ago. But at that point, we didn't even start. We didn't even know Unity. We didn't even use Unity yet. 2014, we didn't use Unity yet. So at that point, we had to kind of scrap the engine, put it on there. But as Khalil said, we had a lot of idea for game modes, and we did have to cut down. The good news is now we have a ton of things we could do with DLC and things like that. But yeah, it was a battle to make sure that we knew what was in the game. But we really want to take our time and see our full vision before we released anything.
Yeah, and like one thing that you kind of brushed over a bit, but people didn't realize back then when we were showing off our prototype, they're like, oh, this game looks like it's almost done. That game was running in Microsoft XNA. So
yeah,
which was really popular back then because it allowed indies to kind of jump on and start developing, but that was only able to be published at most on Xbox and I think Windows at the time. So as soon as we got access to a Sony dev kit, we were like, all right, we have to move over to Unity. And as we said, we're self-taught. So we're like, all right, no big deal. We'll just make a quick port over to Unity and press the button, deploy it. But when we got to Unity, we found out, all right, it's not a quick port. It's actually pretty much like you're starting from scratch. Like there's no real easy way to say that. But the cool thing is that when we started porting over to Unity, we started noticing all these things Unity could do to like elevate the presence of our game. So while at the time we were happy with how Swimsanity looks, using all like Unity's like lighting features and physics and all the things that you guys know Unity brings to the table like any other like name brand engine, that made us kind of go back to the drawing board and be like, all right, we got to incorporate these like premium gaming features into our game. So that kind of went into our kind of like 3-year going dark period, but I think it worked out for the best.
Also, just to kind of drop in our artist, Chris, who's a childhood friend of ours who did the art for the game. Even he was self-taught too. So every year he was progressing so well. That wasn't a new artist. That was him. That he was just learning new things. So when he brought something new and it just looks so much better, we're like, all right, we got to elevate everything else. Like all the assets got to get better. So I'd say we're teaching ourselves to learn how to code, learn how to develop a game. And as he's progressing so quickly as well, I mean, he's like, I have to change these assets to make it look like these. So it was all part of that. And once we knew we hit this certain level, that's when we're like, okay, let's show everybody what the real vision for the game is.
That is all fantastic. I highly recommend you start rewriting it in Unreal so you can see what new.
No more
for that.
Tell you
no more rewriting. No more anything. No more underwater. After this, we need to take a break from underwater games for a while.
You have to take a break for 10 years and then you need to remaster it.
Yeah, that's the plan. We're just gonna. Swimsanity will just be ported from every console from now on out. Just a shallow report.
Swimsanity Ray Trace Edition will be there.
I wanted to wrap up by trying to tap into the knowledge and experience you've got of all this intense focus you've had going to all these events, studying what you need to be doing. Clearly, you've been super active in how to promote your game, how to connect with communities. Do you have any idea how things are shifting? Right, this is $1 million question. If you can predict the future, how you promote your games, then you'll always have a hit. But what do you see as sort of the future for indie game marketing?
I love that question.
Yeah, so I'm sure Ahmed has his opinion on this too. I actually think indies are now becoming the new third-party developers, like mainstream third-party. Whereas back in the day, like in our age, we had like Midway and Acclaim and like Rare, but those were since games were becoming so much more expensive to produce, you're seeing more and more indies step into the scene as those third-party devs, right? So you have like your Cupheads out there. I think the Stranger Things game that released on Nintendo earlier this year was an indie company. There's so many like those AA companies which are actually just like established indie companies that are becoming so big into the scene. So I think you're going to see the mainstream media actually come to the indies a lot more often to cover these games that are kind of filling the void in between these humongous AAA games that are coming out.
Yeah, that's definitely a good question. Kind of two parts of it. Kind of was saying, I mean, indies are now able to self-publish easier and easier year by year. The engines are getting better and better, allowing you to make better looking games. I think I was watching some GDC video talking about indie publishing is dead, and he wasn't saying it was dead, but he was talking about kind of how that's just becoming such a bloated area because indies you can get some great marketing by directly interacting, self-publishing with Nintendo, with Xbox, with Sony. I actually think a lot of indies that have those contracts with them don't know how well they can, do things if they plan. So the more they get knowledge on that, yeah, you're going to see some indies really, be able to take leverage of this. And I think these virtual events that we've been doing because of COVID-19, I actually don't think they're going to go away. I think there's a lot of success that's going to go with these. Like I'm actually really curious to see how the PAX one goes later this year, because if that goes well, I don't see why they wouldn't do that with PAX and just keep these things going. I mean, we see it with these directs. I mean, Nintendo did it a couple years ago, and some of us made fun of them for it and all that, and they literally just set the platform for how everything should be presented in the future. So I do think these like feeding through these premieres and all that, I mean, I think it's going to be very popular.
Yeah, I like it. More direct information to the people, less need for publishers for the things they used to do, and sort of sound like moving up the food chain as indies become just game developers. Well, I mean, a lot of indie teams are bigger than what the games we thought of 10, 20 years ago. Those would have been indies now. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. So I want to point people to Swimsanity. First off, I think everybody should play the demo during happy hour, live online while zooming it, and that'd be fun. Where should people go to connect with you to make sure they're not missing a thing you do?
Yeah, so you guys can follow us on Twitter and Facebook, Decoy Games, Instagram, Decoy Games Official, Discord, just search Swimsanity. We're always up there talking more than we probably should be. Download the demo off Steam. Actually, that's the first thing you should do. Download the demo and play it. Let us know if you like it. If you don't like it, don't let us know. I'm just playing. Let us know that too. Yeah, play the game. We're doing dev play sessions, so come play with us. Let us know what you think.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
You've been terrific guests. This is where we have another big applause sound effect. Is like that. That's great. And that's just about it for the Bit Show. Remember, everybody, check out the hashtag Play Games channel in the Slack, the Boston Game Dev Slack, and post in devlog so that we can share all the awesome things you're making next week. And we're going to throw back to Chris, who has his Tiki Talk drink for you this week. And then he'll send out the Zoom happy hour link for everybody to join and chill and play Swimsanity and talk about the EA presentation we all just missed.
We just skipped it. We didn't miss anything.
I had it play in the background the whole time.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That was great. And now I'm going to press a bunch of buttons and run into the other room to make a cocktail. So stay with us.
Hey, Chris, you're muted.
Okay, there we go. We had 3 great shows with 0 problems, so it was bound to happen eventually, right? Anyway, so I had my honeymoon in Hawaii, and in Honolulu, they have this drink called the Lava Flow, which is basically just 50-50 pina colada and strawberry daiquiri. And it gets the name, of course, because the daiquiri ends up mixing in and kind of looking like flowing lava. It's amazing. So we were trying to get one in the U.S., and we just kind of asked the bartender to mix a pina colada and a strawberry daiquiri, and they rung it up as a Miami Vice, which is how I found out about this drink. So today we're going to be making kind of an elevated version. Normally you would just blend, a pina colada mix or whatever that you get at the liquor store, but we're going to be doing something a little bit fancier today. So to start, like I mentioned, it is summer, so we're having a little, a special summer treat here. Strawberries are in season right now, so I macerated some nice strawberries here. I'm going to put 4 strawberries right in the bottom of this guy. Look at that nice syrup in there. Look how red that is. Just, delicious. So now we're going to do 1 ounce of white rum. This is a Foursquare Probitas, which is kind of a funky, grassy white rum. This is really cool. Very different, like much stronger flavor than a classic white rum would have. We're also going to use this Plantation OFTD. This stuff is amazing, 69% alcohol, but it just tastes unbelievable. Super oaky, oaky and caramelly, just awesome. I'm going to do 1 ounce of that. This is cream of coconut that I made. This is it's basically 1-to-1 sugar and coconut milk. I'm going to do 1 ounce of that. I'm going to do 1 1/4 ounces of pineapple juice. I just use these little Dole guys. Usually I try to get a fresh pineapple and juice it, but very impractical, even though it's delicious. So we're going to do 1 1/4 ounces of that. Just a little splash of simple syrup here. We're going to do about 1/2 ounce. And get some ice. Shake that up. Actually, I forgot ice for my drink. Ice this. Pour that right in on top. And we've got this nice syrup. Let's not let that go to waste. Let's just there's a little of that in there. Ooh. And we're going to garnish the sliced strawberry. Look at that. Doesn't that look amazing? My God. And yeah, strawberries are only in season for a hot minute here. I think we've got about 3 weeks, according to my wife, who's the expert. So, get on out there and make yourself a little Miami Vice. Anyway, that's it for our show this week. Thanks, everyone, for coming out. Sorry about the technical difficulties. What are you going to do? See you around.
SHO!